The state of Alabama certified the election results, saying that Doug Jones won. Is it over?
Thanks, John. It's good to be with you. I think that the issue here that we're looking at is the issue of voter fraud. And interestingly, it was a Democrat who brought the case.
Let's talk about voter fraud in a second. I just want to know what you're doing. Is the election over? Has Roy Moore?
I'm talking with you.
Has Roy Moore conceded?
No, I think you just read his statement. And there are some options, one of which you could file in federal court. I can tell you the option I'm recommending. I think he needs to file and run against Governor Kay Ivey, who certified this fraudulent election. I think we need to find candidates to run against Secretary of State Merrill and Attorney General Marshall, who likewise joined together to ignore 84 pages of evidence and certify an election which has far too many questions about it to really affirm the wishes of the people of Alabama and their right to a fair and free election.
Will he file for a recount in the next 48 hours?
I'm gonna have to let the judge speak for himself, but I do say this, that what we're talking about here is far bigger than a United States Senate race. We're talking about whether or not the people of Alabama have the right and the privilege, the duty to be able to have fair and free elections and make sure that they not only can cast their ballot, but make sure that their ballot is counted and they have assurance that it was counted properly. That's what we don't have.
The Secretary of State certified the election results today. The judge threw out the lawsuit, citing those 84 pages that you provided there, did not think they were worthy to order some kind of halt to the proceedings. What due process have you not been given at this point?
Well, there's a few things that are problematic. One is that they dismissed it without, I don't even know if the Secretary of State read the 84 pages of evidence. And that's what really is screaming from the pages of this complaint.
Janet,
and what it said, let me finish if I may.
It's not evidence.
Is what it
it's
says.
Not evidence. It's an argument citing four election experts, people you call election experts, that a lot of people...
I know, and you're trying to say, I mean, maybe the guy got a C- in spelling in the 4th grade. You know, you can just count anybody you want.
No,
the guy's got four
math
degrees.
He said the Holocaust.
Three math degrees, 4 books of...
One of them said the Holocaust didn't happen. He said 6 million Jews weren't killed.
Let me refer you to an internet blog, Abraham Lincoln's internet blog. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. That's
Abraham
not
Lincoln was not alive for the Holocaust, Janet. One of your experts...
He wasn't alive to make a blog as well. It was a joke.
One of your experts, Jim Condit Jr., tweeted that there's an evil Jewish shadow government in the U.S. He claims it's preposterous to say Hitler wanted to kill all the Jewish people. That is
let me
one
tell
of your,
you,
that's
don't
one of your
believe everything you read. Number one, he's an expert. 40-year.
There's video of him saying this.
John, did you have me on to talk, or just to talk to me? Here's what we know about John Condit. He has nearly 40 years experience in election machines, and what he found is that this election system software is made up of a secret computer program in Omaha, Nebraska. And you heard from the Secretary of State. I hope you asked him the question that wasn't asked earlier, and that is, hey, if you guys don't keep the ballot images, why not? Because that's what federal law requires you to do, to have a record, to maintain that record, and make sure that it is not destroyed. That is the case. What's happening is that the Democrats in the state of Alabama have said, we want to preserve the evidence. We want to preserve the ballot images. And Secretary of State John Merrill said, no, we think we should destroy it. And by the way,
Janet,
that's a federal crime that brings with it a sentence of $5,000 and 5 years in jail.
Does it concern you that your election machine expert, Jim Condit Jr., is a man who said there's an evil shadow Jewish government and claims
I certainly don't believe that.
It's
and you know
preposterous
what?
to say Hitler killed all Jews, because
I don't believe that.
I'm just
going to tell you, he didn't say that. He didn't say that. What he knows about what we had him on the case, we submitted an affidavit, because the guy's an expert, an undisputed expert
Janet,
in the election software programs.
He absolutely
I don't believe
said
it.
there's...
Sorry, don't believe it. And I want to say this, and I've said it earlier, that I don't think you're going to find... Okay, well, you know what? I can tell you where I stand on that. I don't know much about election machines. That's what John Condit knows about. But I can tell you that you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody who's more pro-Israel. So I celebrated when that embassy was moved to Jerusalem.
He tweeted it. We have the tweet. Can we put the tweet up? Do we have the tweet? Do we have the tweet we can put up? Here it is. Evil Jews in the Jewish shadow government must be highlighted, even though, of course, all Jews are not in that. But by the way, John, what USA is fighting.
You know what you're not putting up on the screen?
Okay.
Oddly enough, you're not putting up his 39 years experience in election machines. But let's look at the other three experts who, independent of each other, said that the votes just in one county, just in Jefferson County, and people say, oh, that's racist, pointing to Jefferson County. It was actually the Republican precincts where the votes were moved from Roy Moore to Doug Jones, and they can prove it. In fact, one of the experts with all of the degrees who's nationally renowned.
I'm sorry. Prove what? Excuse me. You said he could prove it. What can he prove?
Prove that in one county, 20 precincts in one county, the votes were moved from Roy Moore to Doug Jones.
That's not what he proves. Have you read the 84? Have you read the 84 pages?
I have read the arguments. He
doesn't even begin to suggest that he has proven that those votes were moved. What he suggests,
what the expert said in his affidavit, if you've read it,
is it's an anomaly. He says he doesn't think that voting pattern in that county, in that district, could possibly happen. He doesn't say he has proof that those votes were changed.
But let me just tell you how much proof there is, and it's in the affidavit. If you read it further, what you'll see is that there is a 1 in 15 billion chance that that occurred naturally. 1 in 15 billion mathematical chance that that was not fraud. So if you don't think that's proof, I think it's proof.
His argument essentially
beyond any reasonable doubt.
Well, first, again, he does not make the case that it's beyond any reasonable doubt.
It's in there. I've got the case in front of you. You want me to quote it for you? I've got it here.
His argument is that too many Republicans did vote the party line in this district. You don't think that Republicans had a reason not to vote the party line in Jefferson County?
Well, it's interesting that when you look across the entire state, everybody follows a pattern in virtually every single precinct of every single county, except these certain areas that were Republican with high voter turnout for Roy Moore, and suddenly there's the pattern. You look at it on the charts; it's all mapped out, and you can see it in the affidavit and in the research that was submitted. Something that the Secretary of State John Merrill ignored. But what it shows is they reach a certain point, and boom, everything's off the charts. It does not follow any pattern of any of the rest of the state.
So we talked to election experts. Again, you cite 4 election experts, one of whom is a Holocaust denier. We talked to 2 today, at least 2. Justin Levitt at Loyola Law School.
Who's an expert on machines?
You keep saying this man's an expert on machines. It doesn't bother you that he says that there's an evil shadow Jewish government?
Hang on.
True,
I'm just going to tell you, if it does, of course it bothers me.
Is he the only election machine expert? The only election machine expert you could find is one who says there's an evil shadow Jewish government?
If I would have known that, if I would have known that this is a tweet that if it really happened, I never would have suggested
he also has given speeches, and he has said that Hitler didn't want to kill all the Jews. It takes a Google search. It does. This is not like extensive research.
Well, we worked Christmas to put together all of the facts and 84 pages of them so that we could make sure that this would be presented and not ignored, but unfortunately it was ignored by Secretary of State John Merrill. You know, it's interesting. Y'all have this this assassinate the character. Instead of looking at the evidence, you want to go after anybody that might have said something off the cuff or something that was inappropriate, and I'll be the first to say it's completely inappropriate. I completely disagree with if that was in fact said.
Think about his judgment. Maybe a guy who says that Hitler didn't want to kill the Jews, maybe that guy doesn't have all his facts right on a few other things.
Maybe what I want to tell you is, all right, let's throw out John Condit. Let's just forget about the voting machines and the secret software program and the fact that they destroy all the evidence. That doesn't seem to bother you, but it bothers the people of Alabama, and I believe the people of Alabama are going to come out in a primary election against John Merrill or general election against him. The same with Attorney General Steve Marshall and Governor Kay Ivey. And I hope Judge Moore runs against her personally.
And one of the things you have suggested, you haven't said whether or not he's going to test this election. You said you hope he challenges Kay Ivey. That might be news if that happens, if he doesn't decide to contest this election the next day and a half. But again, I just want to make clear, we have spoken to other election experts, Justin Levitt at Loyola Law School, Charles Stewart at MIT. They both analyzed the returns, and they agreed that any claims of fraud are totally unfounded. In regards to turnout anomalies, which is the basis of your voter fraud. Hang on. Levitt told us, quote, to attribute those anomalies to fraud without any further reliable evidence of actual wrongdoing is nothing more than magical reasoning and conspiracy theory. There's just no
this is y'all love labels. This is your favorite thing to do. Try to do a character assassination. Try to say that we give somebody that said something off the cuff
or off the Holocaust is off the cuff, as you know.
No, it's not off the cuff. It's inappropriate. Let me make clear.
I didn't like his hair that day.
Let's throw him out.
the Holocaust didn't happen.
Listen to me. That's a bad thing. But let me just say, let's throw out his 40 years of expertise in election machines. Let's look at the other three experts. Let's look at the experts who have shown independent of each other. And by the way, one of those experts was a Democrat who said, I got involved in election integrity because he felt that Bernie Sanders was being that he was being cheated. Look, this should matter to everyone. It's not about whether you like Roy Moore